Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, the great and wonderful podcast hero of yours. Are you ready for this week's episode? Brilliant. There are three things we can talk about today. Following a fortnight ago's wonderful reception to how to become more cult-like, we've thought of a couple little steps that may help you on your way. Start off with that. I hope you're ready. Step 1, keep it vague and keep it simple. I want you to think of your most loved religion, and what it boils down to is to love thy neighbour. Can you think? I want you to do clear and readable actions. Your initial dealings should contain two elements: a promise of something amazing, like heaven, and transformative and completely vague. Plus, fiery ambition, not just normal ambition. I'm talking about fiery ambition. And enthusiasm, because at the end of the day, the enthusiastic are the ones who will inherit the earth, especially if they have bunkers. But that is a different podcast for a different day. Step 2, emphasize the visual and the sensual over the intellectual, aka aim for the heart, not the head. Once people gather, two dangers will represent themselves: boredom and skepticism. Amuse the bored and word off the cynics. You do not need the cynics in your group. Dazzle your followers with visual splendor and fill their eyes with spectacle, aka magic. In this way, it will attract new followers to you. Now, what does this mean? What this means is aim for stupid people. There's not many people with PhDs who believe in religion, for example. I'm sure there's a few, probably in the Americas, but a lot of them have put it to the wayside. Now, personally, I'm not a believer in religion. I'm a believer in myself. I'm a believer in my ancestors to a certain extent. You can believe whatever you need to believe in. There's a great calming effect to believe in God. And hey, I'm not too up my own bottom to say that I have prayed before, mostly for my own benefit. But yeah, I honestly think those two steps you can highly use, and you'll be getting some more in a couple episodes' time. I hope you've enjoyed this part of the podcast. Now, personally, what have I done this week? Well, went to some amazing comedy at the Top Secret on Friday. I saw the new, about to say Top Boy series, and it's not that, is it? The movie was the new Bad Boys movie. If you've seen that, it's really good. Recommend that you go and check that out. And on Sunday, because you know me, if I have a bit of action, I have a bit of equality to sort of balance each other out in my brain. I went to see the Van Gogh exhibition, which I highly recommend that you go and see, because it'll show you so many interesting things about the man with one ear, how he rooms with Gauguin for a while. Very important, very, very important painter. Mr. Van Gogh created a new masterpiece more or less every 36 hours. Now, don't get me wrong, did he love a bloody sunflower? He did. Another thing you've got to do while you're there is go for the £3 VR experience. It will change your mind, and honestly, I would have happily paid 13 quid for it. It was really interesting, about half an hour long. Check it out. Really interesting. Now, let's move on to the next part that we're going to talk about. Now, a fortnight ago, on our return to it, we were talking about the essential home bar checklist. And now, I wasn't intending to turn this into a long series, but people said, well, what about the non-alcohol stuff? Or the non-spiritual stuff, as they like to say. That made me think, well, first of all, you're going to need some glassware, aren't you? Stuff to actually put the drink in. Can't just be sipping it out of hand on many bottles, even though I'm sure some of you tried that. I'm looking at you. You know who I'm looking at. So you need some glassware. What you're going to need is going to need a martini glass. You need some pint glasses. And you're going to need some red and white wine glasses. Now, I'm not entirely sure the difference. I think one's shorter than the other. Something to Google right there. And some champagne flutes. You'll also need what I like to call tumblers. I'm sure there's a nicer name for it, but get a few of them. Now, the tools you'll need. Now, when I say tools, I do not mean jackhammer, even though if you want to make something on the rocks, a jackhammer would help. What I mean is your martini shaker, like when you think of James Bond getting his martini shook. That's the way he would do it. Next, a strainer, so you can strain all the pith and bits that come out. You don't really want that in your drink, do you? Next, a spoon, and I'm talking about a bartender spoon. It's a long, thin one, so you can get all the way down to the bottom without getting your fingers wet. Next, you need a knife to cut up all these brilliant citrus fruits that you're going to be putting in now. After that, you'll be needing a corkscrew because, well, wine. Then you'll be needing a bottle opener for obvious beer-related reasons. Outside of that, you'll need a peeler to peel the citrus fruit. Lots of citrus fruit-related stuff, I know. And finally, you will need, alright, that's going to be interesting to pronounce, a jigger. Now, a jigger is something that jigs things around. That was a close one with that one, isn't it? Next, after that, you're going to need some barware. Now, barware is all the stuff that you keep in the bar that doesn't go off, just stuff that looks nice. I'm talking your napkins. You can get napkins made with your initials on them. You can get coasters made, which I always thought was a nice little idea to have your initials on a coaster. Makes you look quite nice. After that, you have to get some toothpicks because they just look quite cool, don't they? After that, you'll need your cocktail recipe book. Very important. Some would say the most important thing in this list so far. And finally, we'll be talking about for the people who don't want to be very experimental, but you want to give them something. I'm talking about your beer and wine list. You need a light beer, a dark beer, some craft beer for the crafty people out there, some red and white wine, and some champagne, because there's no such thing as a decent bar without champagne. What do you think? What have I missed in this lovely series, people? Leave comments down below. Okay, and finally today we'll be doing one of our amazing TikTok selections. So, first things first. Okay, first we can start off with the Zeigarnik effect, which means unfinished problems cause pain plus stress, which will push you to finish it. So in your mind, when you've done like 6 hours work on something, you know it's 3 a.m, you're absolutely knackered, but you know if I just push another hour, you'll complete it. That is the Zeigarnik. The Zeigarnik effect. Pronunciation may vary. That's a very good one. I like that one. Ah, yes, these are some books that will change your life. Now, these was written specifically by one of my lovely writers who have written this all by themselves. They haven't told me about it. They literally emailed it over to me 5 minutes ago. Let's have a check, shall we? The first one is The Secret. Ooh, sounds very interesting. Check that one out. The Miracle Morning. I have read that. It has changed my life. Atomic Habits, the book that honestly everyone talks about. The New Earth. That is an interesting one. I'll have to read that one. If anyone else has another book they want to add to this list, please leave it in the comments below. What else can we talk about here? Here's some random facts. Did you know that the S in Harry S. Truman, the American president in the 50s, stood for nothing? He just put it in there because it sounded good. Baby rabbits are called kittens. The Marlboro Man. Now, for those who don't know, Marlboro is a cigarette brand. For people who don't know what a cigarette is, it's like the thing they used to have before vapes. Anyway, he was a marketing technique where he would smoke in more or less every advert. Well, the original one died of lung cancer. But can't really stop laughing at that one. The Church of Scientology is banned from editing Wikipedia. I think they must be the only people. The Eiffel Tower is 6 inches taller in summer. Do you know how that works? Because metal expands, ladies and gentlemen. That's quite cool. Next, leeches have 32 brains. There's definitely a joke in there somewhere. Oh, and there is a version of morphine that is 1,000 times stronger than morphine, called etorphine. Bloody hell, I bet you could be blown to pieces and not feel anything with that. Very interesting. Final fact for the day is a group of parrots. It's called a pandemonium. Oh no, I've just been emailed another one. Sloths can hold their breath for 40 minutes. If you've enjoyed this facts and more, please leave a comment below and see if you can leave a nice little fact for us to read out next time. Thank you very much, and as always, please check out our sponsor, Boo and Bubs. They are creating new stuff every single day. They are 2 lovely sisters. Highly recommend that you buy something from them. And as always, thank you for learning left-handed. It's always a pleasure.